guys, Shane Ward again. Today is the first of a series of broadcasts around trust. Trust is the central theme of IDthree and is something that will be the yeast that runs through all that we talk about, all that I will coach on, all my keynote talks. Really, the space I want to go into is commercial trust. That's where my heart is, and that's what I want to talk about. However, it's really impossible to separate human trust from commercial trust. The reason for that is trust must first run through the hearts of people before it runs through the hearts of an organization. Trust is a delicate virtue and almost impossible to predict. Let's look at three examples. The American President Bill Clinton, who had an illicit affair with his intern Monica Lewinsky. I remember so clearly his denial of it, his words.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Well, we know a little bit different now. And Bernie Madoff ran the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world, defrauding the public of $65 billion. Two people committed suicide as the result of his breach of trust, one of them being his son. And closer to home, our very own and much loved, well-respected Hansie Cronje. His mistrust caused ripples throughout the cricketing public, throughout this country, and I think throughout the world. To further underline how difficult it is to trust, we even have no faith in scientific models anymore. The polygraph has proved to be really unreliable. The Green River Killer, America's second most prolific serial killer in its history, convicted of 49 murders. He admitted to 72, passed his polygraph with flying colors. And Ted Bundy flew through his polygraph test as well. On the flip side of that, there has been 215 people who were jailed partially because of failing polygraphs, who've now been exonerated due to new research in DNA. Unfortunately, those people have already spent an average of 13 and a half years in jail. So we kind of agree now that predicting the trustworthiness of others is really, really difficult. But what about ourselves? Surely, the one thing we should be able to do accurately is predict how much we can trust ourselves, predict our own trustworthiness. After all, who knows us better than we do? But here's the thing. We're finding it equally as difficult to predict our own trustworthiness as it is to predict others. So when I ask you, can you trust yourself? What I'm really asking is, can your current self trust your future self? And the answer to that is quite complicated and really not well predicted. How many times on the weekend have you said, Monday, I'm starting a new diet, a regimen of eating, it's gonna change? How many gym contracts have you taken out and never used? How many New Year's resolutions don't even make it past January? And how many last cigarettes have you lit? Why is it so difficult? How come we keep breaching our own trust? How come we are sure we can resist this temptation right up until the point that we don't? And then, after the breach, when asked if our future behavior would be better, we are sure it would be. Let's take a look at this scenario. You're on a pavement, you want to cross the road, and you have a look to the left, you see there's a big enough gap for you to quite easily get across. So you step onto the road and you hear the roar of an engine. The car approaching has now accelerated and speeds up. You quickly hop back onto the pavement, and as the driver goes past, you raise your hand, shake your head. You think his behavior is despicable, it is reckless, and it is selfish. Now, let's flick things around. This time, you're the driver, and you're approaching the same intersection, and someone steps off because they've got the perfect gap to get across the street. This time it's you who accelerates. You shoot through the intersection. And when you look in your rearview mirror, you see people shaking their heads and waving their hands. Except this time your thinking is different. You know that you were a little bit late for a meeting. You also know there was no danger of hitting the pedestrian. There was no harm done. Your actions were justified. We can be complete hypocrites. So when we are the transgressor, we rationalize. And more than that, we bleach our past indiscretion. Why do we do that? It's because we have a need to be acceptable partners to ourselves. Taking this further, when asked, or if we ask ourselves directly after the transgression, would we be a repeat offender? Would we do that same thing again? We say no, with absolute conviction. This is called forward-looking myopia. We are very short-sighted when it comes to ourselves. We have proved to be really inadequate at forecasting our own remorse after these transgressions. We breach the commitments we make to ourselves because we focus on the now. And because we focus on the now, we make poor decisions because we are not correctly taking into account how we will genuinely feel post-breach. So what are the learnings? What can we take out of this to improve our own lives? Be aware that we bleach our past to become acceptable partners with ourselves. Be aware that when looking at an indiscretion, we see the now and we don't see the regret and the remorse that we'll have post. Number 2, the ability to forego short-term gratification in exchange for long-term reward is a massive and significant indicator of trustworthiness. 3, before you're about to commit an indiscretion, pause, not to think, but to feel. Transport yourself to a place post your transgression and allow yourself to feel how you would feel. It is such an effective mechanism for letting go of the things that we would normally have breached. Because we have forward-looking myopia, we generally are terrible at predicting how remorseful we'd feel. So take yourself there, transport yourself, and allow yourself to feel. Number 4, when you do breach, be kind to yourself. We're all going to have issues that we're going to fail in. Forgive yourself, but do one more thing. Upgrade your current by learning from your past. So that upgrade you can take into the future and be a better you. I'm Shane Ward from IDthree, the Trust Guy.